In the first of 3 episodes, so this is the first one, I'm taking some time to tell you about my educational background and training. So what actually made me found NATA PR. So this is the first episode of a series of 3. Bonjour, hello everyone. I'm Nata, host of the NATA PR School podcast. You're a successful entrepreneur or marketing manager and you're about to launch a new product or service, or you've been selling your goods for quite some time, but you want to learn how to increase your visibility, get known, and reach more clients? At NATA PR, we deal with real clients every day and we'll teach you simple, fun, and honest PR solutions. You'll learn easy steps to combine PR to social media right now. Keep listening and let's get started. Bonjour, hello, and welcome to episode 102 of the NATA PR School podcast. For the next 3 episodes, I thought of doing something different, and I want to tell you about my personal and career stories to answer actually some questions. Especially young employees sometimes come to me and they're wondering how someone starts a public relations agency. That's now... we've been in business, 20 years. I know it's a crazy number. Even when I say it, it's hard for me to believe. So my name is Natalie Bibeau. I was born in the United States. So Natalie Bibeau, in the next episode, I'll tell you all about the NATA story. But Natalie Bibeau, that's my real name. I was born, as I said, in the United States, and my parents chose to live in Canada when I was still very young. I did my schooling in French, so this is why you hear this very unique accent, very typical French-Canadian accent, as I'd like to say. So my native language is French. I studied French in Quebec, the province of Quebec in Canada. And my first name is spelled in English, N-A-T-A-L-I-E, Natalie, without the H the French use. The French spell Natalie with an H, N-A-T-H-A, but not the English and not the Americans, of course. My first name is Natalie because my godfather admired Natalie Wood. So I'm named after her, which is quite an honor. I don't know if you remember Natalie Wood, some of you. You can certainly Google her name and you will find that she played in the first play, the West Side Story movie. So that's her. She was an amazing actress. So that's why my name is Natalie. That's why I'm named Natalie. And it took me a while to find my way in life. And I didn't know what I was going to do in my life. And just because of that, I was always really, I always envied my friends, especially those who knew, even when they were very young, that they wanted to become doctors, lawyer, or engineer. It was not my case. But since I like math and music, when I finished my 11th grade at the age of 17, which we call in Quebec French secondaire 5, secondary 5th, so 11th grade, I decided at 17 years old to enroll in a pure sciences program at the college level. So after completing these 2 years, I could go on and to study engineering at the university of my choice, probably. But, wow, what did I discover? So after a year in that program where I wasn't enjoying myself very much, I was not really finding the joy and the fun I had in my previous science and math courses. And I was wondering if I wanted to become an engineer. Because why? I realized that there were only guys in my classes. Yes, if you remember, in the 80s and 90s, the engineering profession was still mostly men. I was sometimes the only girl in my class. And I quickly realized that if I stayed on that path, if I went to study engineering at university, the guys I was studying with that I didn't have fun with at all, with whom I had little in common, would become my colleague later in the workforce. This was a real wake-up call, a real ha-ha moment, as I'd like to say. So I knew I didn't want to work in that world, and maybe becoming an engineer was not such a good idea after all. But what could I study? What could I do? Change programs? And study what? I was completely lost after that first year. So today, whenever young students ask me what program they should enroll in, I always tell them the same thing. I'll tell them to choose what they love to do. What do they love? And then find something that's linked to that interest of theirs. Choose a program in something that you love, that you are interested in. Why? Because then you will want to wake up every day. You'll be happy to go to college or to university. So let's say you like to write and discover authors. So why not choose to study literature, for example? Or you like writing and the news, so you want to know what you're really interested by what's happening in the world or locally, and it's a passion. So maybe you should study journalism. So you see where I'm going? Because since the advent of the internet, everything has been changing so fast. And so certainly there will be professions popping up, professions that we don't even know today. For example, when I was a student, there were no social media managers. That wasn't something that existed. Not even digital marketing, and internet didn't even exist. And that's not so long ago. But we know that speaking a language, for example, and loving to learn will always be core human activities. It's going to be always part of what we need in the world, because we are working with other humans. So studying the arts, literature, or languages, and different language, it might seem old-fashioned sometimes, but I can tell you, this is what I'm looking at when I look at some resume. If I see a student who studied philosophy, even dance or art, I'm really interested to speak with this candidate, because sometimes, they have a brain that's been formed differently and they love to learn. So this is something I'm really interested in. Or they have kind of a culture too, so they know more than those who did study, let's say, just math and science. And for sure, these knowledges will be in demand tomorrow, for sure. So what happened to me? Remember, I was studying with these guys in this pure sciences program. So for me, what made me choose another program after that was my love of classical music that really guided me. And today, I know that human beings perform once they figured out what is it they love. So this is why it's so important to find in your life what you love. Even if it's not a deep love, at least, try to find what you like to do or what interests you. So the key for me was finding music, and what I loved was really classical music. I was really young then, so imagine. So you'll see, I'll explain more in details in the second and third episodes, how I went from studying classical music to become a businesswoman founding a PR agency. And so I'd been taking piano lessons since I was 8 years old. And the happiness it gave me pushed me to look for that state of joy. I wanted to feel good again, and not being with students that I didn't relate, that wasn't sharing anything, or I didn't have a lot in common with. So going back to music was an amazing, beautiful choice for me, a good choice. So at 18 years old, had transitioned from private piano lessons to this amazing program from this great school. It still exists, but it's not in the form that I've known when I was really young. It's called Vincent d'Indy. Vincent d'Indy is a French musician, so it's Vincent d'Indy Music School. You can find it online if you want to know more about that incredible music school in Quebec. And so I studied from 8 to 18, so a good 10 years. And I had already completed what they call lauréat deux, sorry, lauréat second. And so I had many of my piano, let's say, certification. I was able to have some equivalent in my college program, so that was good. And that's how I studied music after to university. So 5 years in all. I did 2 years in a college at the college level and 3 years of music. Oh my God, I love those years of study so much. I have so good memories of these 5 years of studying music. I don't know if I'm ready to say they were the best years of my life, but I was really happy then. I remember that. They inspired me and gave me really a reason to get up in the morning and keep, learning and challenging myself. But my musical talent wasn't up to the level of these incredible geniuses that we go listen to in concert all over the world. No, I'm not a genius, far from that. So I had this, let's say, talent that many people have. So if I kept going in that discipline, if I kept studying music, at one point I could certainly teach music. I could also accompany singers and other musicians, or, this is what I could do, and this is what was in the future for me. And quite honestly, I didn't feel called to either of those things. So I couldn't picture myself working with singers and teaching music. So what did I do when I was studying at the university? So over the years, since I'm very curious, which is such a great quality now I know. I didn't know back then, but my curiosity really was helping me. And I have this humming, I'm always thinking, I'm a thinker. So I was thinking, who really here in this faculty of music at the university will become a concert musician? Who will be able to go that far? And in fact, during my 3 years at the university, I didn't meet anyone that did pursue this incredible concert, classical concert career. And none of them became international performers. So that should tell you that these people, they are just incredible geniuses. They are. So if you have the chance to go to a concert with an international pianist or any, other, someone that plays and masters any other instrument, so you can imagine how the talent these people have is just, it's hard to describe. So that was not my case, as you can imagine. So after some research, I found a course on cultural business management. It was like art management at HEC, École des Hautes Études Commerciales, so l'École des Hautes Études Commerciales. And I was really curious about that class. So I signed up. It was such a revelation. I loved it so much. And this is where I found that I could combine my passion for music and my interest for maths. Why? Because management, it was art management. So I'm like, oh my God, I was so excited. And then I wanted to pursue and study more. And I found a very good program. I don't know if it still exists today at Concordia University in Montreal. And it was called, it's a DIA, they call it, it's diploma, and DIA stands for Diploma in Institutional Administration. So that's what I did, and I loved it so much. So it was thanks to that degree that at the doors of the Opera, the Montreal Opera Company, were opened, and even if I didn't know anyone there. So in those days, I had a list of music organizations in the city of Montreal where I thought my training could be useful, my knowledge of music and my knowledge of management. So the first one on the list was listen to this, Atelier Lyrique de l'Opéra. And yes, in those days, I was faxing my resume. So I faxed my resume to Atelier of the Opéra de Montréal. And the same day, I got a call from them. And so they look at my resume and they wanted to meet with me right away. So I met with them the next day. Why? I did realize after the meeting with them that they were looking for a candidate that had this both in an art training and a knowledge and a degree also in management. So that's what I had. They wanted to hire me just because of because then they could have the money to pay for my salary because they had the financial support if they found the right candidate. So listen to this. So that's how life sometimes puts opportunities in our path. And I could have said no to that, but I said yes. So it's really up to us sometimes to whether accept something or not. And I met with the director, and oh my God, I remember the day I met with them, and when they offered me the position, the joy was so profound. I remember exactly how I felt, and I can even see myself sitting in front of him. So now you see how what I loved brought me to a new career. I will tell you more in the next 2 podcasts what happened after that. And so I hope that this very different podcast is helping some of you out there. Let me know if you want to, if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them. And hopefully you'll be listening to the next 2 podcasts of my story, my life story, and what I studied, and that you enjoyed this one. So hopefully you'll be there next week. À la semaine prochaine. Hey, you want to learn more about how to implement PR strategies? Head on to natapr.com and get on our list. You will also receive the NATA PR model on how to create a successful PR campaign. If you want to become a client, just send us an email to nata@natapr.com. Talk to you next week. À la semaine prochaine.